All right, and here we are with Jacobi Ryan, master instructor on web design and digital marketing. And we're going to dive into creating your initial marketing for your website. What things you need to think about starting out with your website, some of the things that you want to have in mind, some of the tools you want to be able to use, whether you're going to hire someone or whether you're going to try and do a little DIY approach. Jacobi, can you dive into some of the things you need to think about when you're starting out building or having a concept for your website? Because we live in an online world, it's necessary. Can you kind of speak to that?
Absolutely, Mark. So in building a website, of course, now in 2021, building a website and having a website for your business and that presence on the internet is of super importance. So that can't be argued. The first thing that we need to talk about before we talk about putting a footprint on the internet is talking about what's the psychology of our business, of our brand. So if we know what the brand profile is, which includes our target audience, who are we talking to? And it includes who we are, how do we talk, what tones do we take when we talk, what are the words that we use, what emotions do we want to evoke, what are the things that resonate with who we're trying to sell to, and then of course our offer. If we know our offer, what is the offer that we're offering to that target audience that resonates using the emotions that are of our brand, once we have those things, of course, with also with a style guide. So having your brand color, what colors represent your brand, what fonts represent your brand, what fonts do you um, does all of your marketing include, your headlines, your body text, your paragraphs, just making sure you know how your brand looks and what your brand looks like to maintain a consistent look, and then bringing that look to your website. So now you have all these things. Of course, your logo is included in that style guide, but having these things, and now you're ready for a website where you have a product to sell, you have an offer, you have a target audience to sell to, so you know who you're trying to appeal to, and you also have your entire brand style guide, so we know how to design the website as far as what parameters we have for me as a designer to be creative with, as far as what parameters can I work within. You have your colors, your fonts. Okay, this is what I have to work with. Now let's look at how we can build this up depending on what our goal is, which is the next step. So we define, and this is all before we even touch a computer.
Wow.
So at this point, we're looking at, okay, what's the purpose for our website now? Is our website to gain email subscribers? Is it to educate people about our company? Is it about to sell products? Is it about getting volunteers? It just depends on what's your main goal, and of course building from there. And when you look at building your website after you have those bottom foundational pieces figured out, at that point now you're looking at your options. So now you have Squarespace, Wix, WordPress, all the GoDaddies. We hear about a new one every other week, and really the differences between those are they can be really simple depending on what you're needing them for. But really, the important things to think about is how fast does your site load when your visitors come? How fast does it? What kind of speed does your site have? And then, of course, also looking at making sure you have your backups. So, does your site require backups, and does it require different versions? Does it require to update? So, WordPress, for example, is one of the most. I think it's used by like 80% of the web right now.
Mhm.
Most websites on the internet are rooted in WordPress. However, in WordPress also there's a lot of updates and maintenance that you have to keep with your versioning and support and things like that. Unless the plugins get outdated, you get malware in your site, and now people Google search for you and go to a prescription company instead of your company now. So there are some things you want to make sure that you're aware of, and that's not saying that WordPress is a bad solution or not a solution. It's just saying that you have to know what you're using it for, and make sure that it's right and appropriate for what you're looking for in your situation. And of course, I would recommend always, if it's something that you think you can do in house yourself and you have the time to, and you don't want to go out and outsource it, feel free to use one of the builders. Each builder has its own pros, own cons, but at the end of the day, you know your vision more than anybody else. And if you feel like your vision does require somebody else to put their hands on it and create a customizable solution, then that's a solution as well. Because I think the main difference between you doing a drag and drop template builder and actually outsourcing it to somebody like me is just how much organization does your site need. So do you update it constantly? Do you need a database in your website that you can constantly update to and format and structure and also reach back on and look back on? Do you need this embedded into your design? Do you need a customizable design that's not included in some drag and drop template on these
That's a good point.
that everybody has to? Do you need e-commerce? Are you looking at scalability? How fast do you think your company is going to grow? Because a lot of these companies, a lot of site builders, the hosting platform that they use a lot of the times may not be sufficient if you plan on increasing your customer base or your fan base 50,000 people in a year or 2 years. So making sure that you know, even if you're using a smaller builder now, what to do going forward if you do scale out of that, and how you're going to transition your site. Are you going to keep your information? Are you going to keep your data? That's another thing, is making sure you have the data and analytics to your website, so you know who's coming to your website, what they look like, what's working, A/B testing headlines, things like that. So all these things are things you want to think about when considering your website. But as far as what solution you choose in building them, they all have their pros and cons. It's just a matter of doing the research on them.
Man, that's amazing. I love how you went to the deeper layer first. All that stuff you said before we even touch a computer. Because I think a lot of times people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna get a domain name." That's like the first thing they do is they go buy the domain name. And then they don't even realize that they might need some hosting, or they go to WordPress, or they use a YouTube video, and it's like you have a lot of options, but do you have guidance? Do you have structure? Do you understand what is important? And I think that's what you fleshed out so beautifully, was the things that are most important at first, the deeper thinking behind what you're going to create, why you're going to create it, and the congruency with your offline brand as you bring it online, versus, all right, let me start accumulating my domain name, let me get my hosting, let me get my WordPress. Oh crap, I gotta learn WordPress. Oh crap, I gotta buy themes. Like it's like at every point you find out something else you have to do. And with that guidance and the way you're describing it right now, I think it just made it so much more clear to have a direct path to getting started when it comes to your website. So thank you for that deep insight, brother.
Absolutely. And to your point, man, I think that's one thing that we are at the risk of when we try to build something at any point, is really like, one, to do the work that like makes us feel like we're being productive, as opposed to like really being productive. So yeah, so hey, I got a domain name, I bought me a domain name, that's great. But at the same time, like, what's the domain name for? Have we done the work for the brand, the target audience? So it's great to have these things, and to feel that rush of dopamine that hits us when we get that, congratulations, you have your
Domain name.
brandname.com, we're just making sure that we stay focused on the task at hand, and doing the foundational work that makes those things even better.
I swear, buying your domain name feel like your whole website up already.
Straight up. Straight up. Climb the mountain.
Yeah, yes, sir. Well, thank you, man. Appreciate all
Absolutely.
your insights.
Yes, sir.